Welcome back to Weather on the Go, all your weather coverage. In today's video, we'll be talking about the extreme heat building and expanding through this week as record high temperatures will be possible and rounds of severe thunderstorms around the northern periphery of that ridge will be wreaking havoc from the upper Midwest into the Ohio Valley throughout this week. Right now, you're looking at your temperatures here outside this morning, and we're waking up to temperatures well into the 70s across the majority of the Corn Belt here, all the way south into the low 80s across portions of North Texas into Oklahoma this morning. In fact, it's 80 degrees in Dallas, Fort Worth, and 82 in Wichita Falls earlier on here this morning. And look at the dew points, the moisture content in the environment here. We have 70-degree dew points across the lower and middle Mississippi Valley and the mid Missouri Valley region this morning. So if you step out the door, not only are you feeling the warmer temperatures in the 70s, you're also feeling the muggy air with the moisture as well. So you definitely need to make sure you stay hydrated outdoors here, especially if you work outdoors, and also find air conditioned room as well because it will be hot. So looking at heat headlines throughout the week, right now we have heat advisories all up and down the Great Plains from South Dakota all the way south into central Texas, southern Florida, where it's been stifling hot as well. Down near the Miami region, we have heat advisories there, and the excessive heat warning prevails across southern Arizona into southern portions of California near the Phoenix region over towards San Diego, with more excessive heat down that way as well. But looking here at the weather pattern in general today, we have a 600 decameter high pressure ridge centered across the eastern two-thirds of the Four Corners region, and you see that's as high as it goes, folks. So that is a very strong ridge of high pressure, and that will start to join together in force with the western Atlantic ridge here together across the southeastern United States by late this week on Thursday, and then that starts to retrograde back west with the ridge really hanging tough over the Four Corners, unfortunately, through the Saturday time frame. But then we have a trough starting to develop up here across southeastern Canada this upcoming weekend that will provide some relief to the heat across parts of the Great Lakes region into the northeast getting in toward this weekend. So looking at high temperatures today, we are well into the 90s. In fact, we're well into the triple digits across Kansas, Missouri, getting into portions of Oklahoma and Texas. I mean, it will be hard pressed to find any location in the Lone Star State under 100 degrees. You may have to go into the far northeast corner of Texas or the far western side of Texas to even get back into the middle and upper 90s for highs this afternoon. So it will be a heat wave out there for sure. And we see 90s all the way up to the international border here of between Canada and the United States, mid 90s up here into the Dakotas. Yeah, we're up to 100 degrees in eastern Montana today as well. So very hot. Make sure to stay hydrated, folks. I cannot stress that enough. And then as we go into Thursday late this week, look how the 100-degree temperatures expand. We're up to 100 in Omaha, Sioux Falls. We're up to 100 in Des Moines, approaching 100 into central Illinois there, and also into the Twin Cities, up to 98 degrees on Thursday. But then as we get into the weekend, we have some relief. Remember, I was talking about that trough developing across southeastern Canada with a cold front dropping south. That will provide some relief back to the 80s up into the upper Midwest, but that will come at the cost for more severe thunderstorm activity up there. We'll get to that in a moment, but the heat will prevail across the South. Multiple areas across the lower Mississippi Valley, the middle Mississippi Valley, the central and southern plains will be 100 plus degrees Fahrenheit getting in through this weekend. And looking at the storm opportunities here, well, back to yesterday, storm reports on your Monday, July 24th. A lot of damaging wind reports here all across the central Rockies, parts of the upper Midwest, the Ohio Valley, into New England here. We saw lots of damaging wind reports. As expected this time of year, we don't see a lot of tornado outbreaks. A lot of this is northwest flow, damaging wind dominated severe weather. And that's what we likely see for the most part going through this week. So today, the mid-level jet stream is active. We have a very strong shortwave up here Into the Pacific Northwest, this will wait until the weekend, but there's a lead shortwave over here into the northern plains. This will affect us this afternoon and this evening, and then propagate across the southern Great Lakes region as we go into Wednesday. This could cause a severe weather outbreak for these areas from Detroit to Chicago down to Indianapolis as we go into Wednesday afternoon. So first here, looking at today on Tuesday, July 25th, we have two areas we're watching with a slight risk. That's a level 2 out of 5 on the scale there. In the yellow, we have a slight risk from the eastern Dakotas down into Nebraska, southwestern Minnesota into northwest Iowa, and we also have a slight risk across the Delmarva region over here toward Washington, D.C., Baltimore, those areas. We got to be watching out for some scattered severe weather as well. And just looking here at the main area of concern today will be from Aberdeen all the way down to Sioux Falls and perhaps just north and west of the Des Moines region. We're watching out for an MCS, a mesoscale convective system, to develop here upstream across the eastern Dakotas and dive east-southeastward, eventually arriving into northwestern Illinois and southwest Wisconsin by Wednesday morning. And look at the instability that builds. There's the instability reservoir. We're up to around 4,000 joules per kilogram. That's extreme CAPE for this time of year, and we're seeing that up across the northern high plains into the Midwest. And that MCS that develops in the Dakotas will follow that gradient here where that instability here starts to drop off. That's where that track of that MCS will take us into the Wednesday morning time frame. So starting this afternoon, we're watching out for isolated to widely scattered supercells. These will be the ones to produce large hail, damaging winds, and perhaps a brief tornado. The tornado threat is pretty low today, so I think, again, a more damaging wind and hail dominated severe weather threat this afternoon. And going into tonight, a more well-organized MCS will be possible across portions of Minnesota, getting down into Iowa. Now, it's a little uncertain how far south this develops. It could develop into southern Iowa or kind of stay a little bit further to the north there from Des Moines on northward. But either way you slice it, widespread damaging winds will be possible here with hail. And of course, the very heavy rain, the frequent lightning because of all the heat building out there tonight. And looking at the rainfall threat, it's nice to see rain further north. I know it's been just wreaking havoc with lots of rain from the Rockies all the way down into the southern plains. We're sharing the wealth as we go through this week. Now through Wednesday morning, we're going to see a couple inches of rain coming down, especially into eastern South Dakota, southern Minnesota, getting into northern Iowa and parts of Wisconsin here, maybe even far northern Illinois. We could be seeing a couple inches of rain through your Wednesday morning time frame, so it's nice to see some rain in areas that have missed out on the rainfall so far with these complexes this summer. And then as we go into Wednesday, July 26th, this is tomorrow, the Storm Prediction Center has gone ahead and upgraded to an enhanced risk. This is a level 3 out of 5 from Detroit. This covers all of southern lower Michigan, getting into northern and northeastern Indiana, so the Gary, Indiana region, South Bend over here into Fort Wayne, and then into northwestern Ohio around the Toledo region, just north of Columbus. That is where we see that enhanced risk for more extreme severe weather potential there. And then a slight risk farther to the west across the Illinois Valley toward the Mississippi River Valley there into eastern Iowa. We have to watch out for some scattered severe weather on Wednesday. And oh yeah, you see a marginal risk farther off to the west here into the Dakotas, Nebraska, and northeast Colorado. Even more isolated strong to severe storms will be possible back here getting into Wednesday night. So looking at the threats step by step here, you can see the severe weather threat, the severe wind category is up there at a 30 to 44% across the southern Great Lakes. That's where we could see wind gusts in excess of 60 miles per hour. Detroit, Toledo, Fort Wayne, getting over toward Gary, Indiana, watching out for that threat. Chicago, it's there as well, but a little bit lower of a probability at a 15 to 29% there. And then looking at the tornado threat, it's robust. We have a 5 to 9% chance of tornadoes across southern portions of lower Michigan into northern and northeastern Indiana, northern Ohio, and then a 2% covering the areas in that slight risk further off to the west, and also a lower end threat for hail, about a 15 to 29% chance of hail, a quarter size or slightly larger across this region. So tracking this Wednesday morning, that MCS is well defined, starting to fall apart on the southern periphery periphery as we have a little bit of a cap starting to develop through the day on Wednesday across the Illinois Valley. But whatever storms can be surface based will be able to produce some damaging winds and hail, possibly a couple of tornadoes, and then that will race across the southern Great Lakes region toward Detroit and also the Toronto area and into Ohio as we get into Wednesday afternoon. And then by Wednesday night, that starts to weaken as it approaches New England. And then we have more isolated, strong to severe storms developing back in that marginal risk across the upper Midwest and down into the northern high plains. Looking at the total rainfall accumulation, Wednesday through Thursday morning, a couple more inches of rain will be possible across the central and southern Great Lakes. So Wisconsin, lower Michigan, getting into northern Indiana, northern Ohio, and perhaps here into southeastern Canada around the Toronto region, we could be getting in on a couple inches of rain through your Thursday morning time frame. Watch out for some flooding across this region, especially if the rainfall comes down in a short amount of time. And then as we transition to Thursday, July 27th, another marginal risk here, kind of broad brushed across the upper Midwest. We could see an upgrade to a slight risk as we get closer somewhere in this region, but we do have a slight risk across the I-95 corridor in the northeast from the Delmarva all the way up to Boston here as we go through Thursday. Damaging winds and hail will be the main mode, although an isolated tornado will be possible on Thursday. And then as we go late week on Friday, you see the jet stream takes more of a west to east orientation. That is what we call a zonal flow in the jet stream here, as the ridge on the northern periphery starts to flatten out, and then we start to see more of an amplified ridge across the western United States with more of a trough developing here across portions of southeast Canada through the weekend, especially into Saturday and Sunday to close out the last weekend here in July. And looking at this, a little bit concerning. Whenever you see extreme heat building and you see a little bit of a collapse on the northeastern periphery of that ridge with the heat, you always have to watch out for big storms. And Friday afternoon, there's another chance. The European forecast model has been consistently showing an MCS developing in southern Minnesota and racing southeastward through the Midwest. Whether or not that moves through Iowa, Wisconsin, Illinois, wherever it moves, it could be able to produce damaging winds, possibly in excess of 60 miles per hour, more large hail, and even some tornadoes. So this will be something to watch on Friday afternoon, Friday evening into Friday night. And therefore, my severe weather forecast Friday into Saturday time frame, this goes through Saturday morning, in the orange shaded color, that is a likely severe weather threat. 40 to 60% chance of severe weather and confidence across southern portions of Minnesota, much of northeastern Iowa, getting into southern portions of Wisconsin, north central Illinois, far southwestern lower Michigan into northern Indiana, and then anywhere in the yellow outlined area, that's where we have up to a 40% chance or confidence of severe weather across this region as we go Friday into Saturday. So definitely watch out for the forecast. This is not an official forecast or anything like that. This will change over the next couple of days, but just keep in mind severe weather again in another couple of rounds could come in Friday night, and again Saturday morning. Looking at the long range, after that does occur after this upcoming weekend into the early start there of August through August 3rd, the ridge is going to remain parked out to the west, but we're still going to see that elongate across the southeast, so above average temperatures, or at least well above average temperatures, will be likely here, especially down near the Gulf Coast. And then the trough up here to the northeast of New England, the Great Lakes region, that will provide us with more below normal temperatures for this time of year. So that'll be a nice welcome sight after some of the heat out there. And then we have more precipitation with a little bit of monsoonal weather coming into play across the western Four Corners region. And this could be into the Phoenix region, San Diego, Las Vegas, up to Salt Lake City, Denver, those areas. We could start to see more monsoonal moisture as we get into early August. And then the East Coast there, above average precipitation from Boston down through Washington, D.C. and into the outer banks of the North Carolina region. But underneath the influence of that ridge, you're just not going to see a lot of rain. So East Texas to portions of Georgia, North Florida there, especially the New Orleans region, Mobile, Alabama, Pensacola, those areas will be well below average precipitation from July 30th through the August 3rd time frame. Looking at the tropics, it's not that exciting out here, folks. That system that we're talking about for so long has actually fallen apart because of the wind shear and the very dry Saharan dust off of Africa, really ripping this system apart, now down to a 10% chance, just hanging on by a thread here as it moves into the Eastern Caribbean And a new area of investigation here across the southeast, just off the southeast coast, with a 20% chance of development over the next couple of days. And I'm going to be honest, this ain't probably going to happen either. So, right now, we're not too concerned about these two areas here. And the reason being is because, I mean, they don't look that healthy right now on the satellite imagery, very disorganized here, or at least semi organized systems. And there's a lot of wind shear out here, folks. I mean, look at today. You see anywhere in the orange and red, I mean, look at the Caribbean. It is completely wind shear dominated. You can see the southeastern coast there, very wind shear dominated today, and that continues on Thursday. Now, the wind shear is not as intense late this week, so there's a little leeway, a very small chance, but I say probably not going to happen because the wind shear is still at least at moderate levels through this upcoming week on Thursday, Friday, and probably into this upcoming weekend. So I don't think anything's going to result much out of this. Yeah, some heavy rainfall. Yes, some flooding, but probably no hurricanes or tropical storms or anything crazy like that through this upcoming week. But just to know, if any system into the future, into August, September, move through this region, this is concerning still. We still have the very warm, if not off the charts, sea surface temperatures. This is in degrees Celsius here. And this is current. Look at the entirety of the Gulf of Mexico, the Western Atlantic, the Northwestern Caribbean. That's at least 30 degrees Celsius or warmer temperatures. That is well into the 80s, if not into the 90s. And in fact, there was a potential world record water temperature recorded yesterday on Monday, July 24th of 2023 in Manatee Bay, Florida, where they recorded a water temperature of 101.1 degrees Fahrenheit, folks. Take that in for a minute. That is bath water. That is a boiling pot over portions of the, the southeast coast there, the Gulf of Mexico. It's very, very stifling warm in the waters. And the old record in the Kuwait Bay in Kuwait was 99.7 degrees Fahrenheit. So if this verifies into the Manatee Bay, Florida, this will be the new world record water temperature ever recorded. So this is very, very concerning with how warm these waters are, and we'll be able to keep you updated if any new systems start to develop out there. But in the Eastern Pacific, very quiet here as well. No new tropical cyclones expected over the next 7 days. That's what we like to see out here. So no threat to Hawaii, no threat to the Baja, and no threat to Mexico or the Central Americas or anything like that moving forward. So A-OK across the tropics, and that's what we're looking for. So we'll keep you updated on that. So make sure to subscribe to the channel down below, especially if you like detailed weather breakdowns on North America, including Southern Canada, the United States, and the tropics on this channel. I update mostly every single day. Press the thumbs up button and the like button down below the video. Helps to get more of this information out to more and more people. And press the share button. Share this video on Twitter, social media, anything like that, Facebook. I do appreciate that. And you can follow me on Twitter. Additional weather forecast updates on there periodically throughout the week. Hit the description down below the video, and you can follow me on Twitter there at hweather420. Otherwise, thank you so much for watching today's video. I hope you liked it, and I hope everybody has a great rest of your Tuesday.